Are you ready to embark on a journey of success? To discover your true potential in the untold stories of careers in life sciences? Welcome to Pathfinder by the Purdue Institute of Inflammation, Immunology and Infectious Disease. With your host, Tommy Soares, discover the untold stories of industry scientists and unveil the secrets to excelling in your career. Thank you for joining us once again, and remember to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Welcome, everybody. My name is Tommy Soares. I'm the Director of Scientific Strategy and Relations for the Purdue Institute of Inflammation, Immunology and Infectious Disease. And today on Pathfinder, I have the pleasure of welcoming Laud Anthony Basing, who's a scientist, an engineer, an innovator, an entrepreneur. He is a lecturer at the Department of Medical Diagnostics in Kwame Nkrumah University at Science and Technology, and the founder and CEO of Incas Diagnostics. Laud Anthony is passionate about research and with a background in both microbiology and biomedical engineering. Laud Anthony's research interest has been developing simple tests for infectious diseases that largely impact women and children in Africa. He has several years of research experience with international collaborations. He worked with the University of in Liverpool and researchers from 13 countries in 2009 to 2013 on a project on the effect of climate change on health outcomes. He worked with the World Health Organization in Ghana and Papua New Guinea on yaws eradication in 2015 and 2016, and worked with the Weldon School of Biomedical Engineering here at Purdue University in the United States to develop low-cost mobile-enabled test devices for HIV and yaws. He currently leads a European and developing countries clinical trials partnership, the EDCTP, which is funded program to evaluate a rapid diagnostic for yaws in Ghana, Ivory Coast, and Cameroon. Laud Anthony is the first Ghanaian to have been nominated for the Innovation Prize for Africa, a prestigious award for African innovators. He was named one of the 50 most influential young Ghanaians in 2017, and in 2017, Emerging Leaders Under 40 winner in the health and wellness category in Ghana. In March of 2019, Laud was named one of the top 30 innovators in health in Africa in the World Health Organization's Africa Innovation Challenge for developing a molecular-based rapid test kit for the neglected tropical disease yaws. In March 2020, Laud led a team of Ghana, Senegal, Cameroon, South Africa, and Nigeria to win WHO's COVID-19 hackathon with the COVID Trads, a COVID-19 testing and tracking platform. In April 2020, Laud led a team of scientists from Incas Diagnostics to collaborate with the NUST to develop a rapid test kit for COVID-19. And in May 2020, he won Africa.com's Brilliant African Innovations Against COVID-19. He was selected as the Gates Scopekeeper by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in July 2020 and nominated as one of the 50 most influential young Ghanaians in December 2020. He was nominated one of the top 50 young CEOs in Ghana in May 2021, and in June 2023, Incas Diagnostics was selected as the best health startup in the African Health XCOM in Cairo, Egypt. My goodness, Laud Anthony, what an honor to have you on the program here and have you as part of our Pathfinder series. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to me and tell me about your story.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I mean, I went to Purdue, so when you reached out, I was like, yes, boiler up. I need to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I am so appreciative. I am so appreciative of our interactions that we've had in the past too with Dr. Jackie Linnes and all the work that you've been doing with her. I've been admiring your work from the periphery for a long time, my friend, and I am so thankful that you took time to say yes to my request to interview you. But Lord Anthony, my goodness, with so many accolades that have been happening year after year after year for you, I would love to hear a little bit about your story, a little bit about your background, what propels you, what's your ambition, how do you keep up with everything that you're doing and all these
Yes.
it's awesome. It's awesome to see. And man, wherever you want to take us, we'll go with you. So take us as far back as you can.
Okay, so thank you again, and thank you for the opportunity. It's always a privilege to talk to like-minded people and to try and inspire people once in a while. So I came from a rather very humble beginning. My background wasn't that strong. I had to do a lot of things myself. I had parents they were working, they invested a lot in our education. I came from a family of six. So together with my parents, we were eight. And my parents made sure that all of us were well educated. But luxury was not a thing that was given to us. You had to work for the things you got. I used to go to the farm with my parents. My mom would sell a local drink called Pito, and so sometimes we would help to sell. And that's actually where my entrepreneurial journey started, because I started selling at a very young age. So I got to know what people wanted. I got to know that I could sell to person A, but I will not sell to person B, because probably person B wanted certain needs that I couldn't fulfill with my drink and all of that. So all of these upbringing together made me realize that I entrepreneurship was something I wanted to pursue. But then also growing up, there was a time my father actually had cancer of the kidney, and so he had to be admitted in the hospital. We had to spend a lot of money, and during that time, it was difficult. I was in the university then for my bachelor's. It was difficult finding money to even go to school and all of that. So I had to find ways and means of making money, and so then again, I had to think about what I can do, what problem can I solve for my mates, so that I'll be able to make money in the end. And not to bore you with a story, but at the end of the day, I was able to take care of myself. I was able to take care of my school, graduate, and even start a master's with the money that I had developed. But then I throughout all of these upbringing, one of the things that I learned was the ability to listen, the ability to find solutions for people's problems. Because I was a good listener, and I still hope I am. One of the things was that you get a lot of people talking to you about their problems. And sometimes, from a listening point of view, you realize that the solution is very obvious. But the people who have that particular problem, they don't see that solution. And so, by offering simple solutions to problems that people had, I realized that one, people were happy about it, so they kept coming back. Two, some people will be so happy with you that they actually give you money for giving them a very simple solutions that to you was very obvious, you know. So I started to take on this problem solving approach to everything that happens to me. So everything that happens, so I came out with this mantra that every problem has a solution. And so if you're able to turn your problems into projects, you would end up at the end of the day being able to solve your problems, but also being able to solve the same problem for other people and being able to make money out of it. And that for me was how the company Incas Diagnostics came about. When I finished school, I was privileged to work in the second largest hospital in Ghana, which is called the Confanoche Teaching Hospital. I worked there for a while. I believe in learning, experiential learning. So I worked in the hospital, learned everything I needed to learn. But while that was happening, I realized that a lot of people felt very comfortable talking to me. They felt very comfortable talking to me about the problem. One of the recurrent problems that I had over and over was the fact that the cost of diagnostics was too expensive. So people will come to the hospital, and then after a few months, you won't see them again, and then they come at a worse state. So you ask them, what happened? Why didn't you come back? And then they'll tell you, oh, I had to do some labs. The doctor said if I don't finish the labs, I should finish the labs before I come and see him. I didn't have money to do the labs. So I was like, okay, well, every problem has a solution. So let me start looking for a problem to this expensive laboratory test. And so I did a quick search on the internet, and I realized that the reagents were so inexpensive, affordable. So in my naivety, I was like, oh, well, then I could just start a lab and start offering lower health cost. Unfortunately, that was not to be, because when you import the raw materials, they go through so many middlemen who also add a lot of markups to what they're getting, that at the end of the day, it is impossible for you to reduce the cost to bearable minimums for people to be able to use. So for me, that was the catalyst that started Incas Diagnostics. Because once I started a lab and I realized that it was difficult to get people to get the prices the way I wanted it to get, I started thinking about how can I then manufacture these raw materials that were used, because the goal was still to make healthcare as affordable as possible for people to be able to afford. And so to do that, I thought the lab was going to be the solution, but I realized that it is the raw materials that made the cost expensive. So I was like, why don't I then manufacture the raw materials? Everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody thought I was crazy because, one, nobody was doing it at the time. There were just very few companies in the whole of Africa that were manufacturing. A lot of them were actually assembling. So they will be manufactured maybe in Europe and then sent to South Africa, and they are then put together. So starting everything from scratch and doing manufacturing, first of all, I did not have the know-how at the time. I did not have money for equipment. I did not have anything. I just had a master's in microbiology. I was interested in immunology and infectious diseases. So that was all I had. So everybody was like, I was crazy, but I was really determined to do that. So I made a few savings. I liquidated my savings, did an internet search, realized that DCN Diagnostics in San Diego, California, offered tuition on how to develop lateral flow tests. So I said, okay, let me start from here.
Awesome.
So I left, came to the United States. Came to the United States, stayed in San Diego in a hostel with about 6 people in a room. And then I learned how to develop lateral flow tests. And then I went back to Ghana, and there I started to develop very simple tests. It started with drugs, pregnancy tests, then drugs of abuse, then HIV. And then as I started to sell them, I realized that people were patronizing people. It became a very simple solution that people could use. So for instance, instead of selling pregnancy tests, which was being sold on the market around probably 10 cedis is like $1, I was selling it for 50 pesos. That was half a cent. So instead of selling it for $1, I was selling it for half a cent, which made it so affordable that people could patronize. So that is how Incas Diagnostics came about. But then I needed to add more knowledge, and so Purdue and Professor Linus came in. I came to Purdue, worked with Professor Linus, got to learn how to do molecular point of care diagnostics for infectious diseases, especially neglected tropical diseases. In Professor Linus' lab, I developed what I call the Yours Kit, which was selected as one of the top 30 innovations in health in Africa. And so based on that, I went back to Ghana and added that to the company's portfolio. And the company has been growing ever since. So that is my story. Yes.
That's such an awesome, awesome story. And you know what is so, I mean, what was really touching and made an impression on me is the impression of your mom being entrepreneurial, selling the drink, and
Yes.
you helping her sell the drink. Let's go back there a second, because I think you opened up a channel that I think is important for us to maybe even discuss a little bit further, in that you said you learned how to sell to different people.
Yeah.
But I'm sure in that process, you also learned how to take a lot of rejection without much worry.
Yes.
And rejection, and be like, oh, you don't want the drink? Okay, there's going to be somebody else who's going to want the drink.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
staying positive, even at the times when not everything is going well, but staying positive, staying working, moving forward ahead. Take us back there, Lord Anthony, and tell us a little bit what that was like, and that the learning period that you had during that time.
Okay, so I think that you raise a very important issue that I actually haven't thought about before, but it makes a lot of sense, because my ability, the resilience that I have developed over the years, that has helped me to get to this stage, has actually been from that stage and being able to face rejection. Because in the entrepreneurial space, even in the academic space, I am in both, you face a lot of rejection. You write for grants and you get a rejection almost every single day. You know, the resilience to be able to take this rejection and be able to move on and not take it personally was an experience that I got from my mother. There was a time that I was so sure. My mom used to give me targets. So she would say, if you're able to sell this, I'll give you this amount of money to spend on anything you like. So I would be aggressive in my selling.
Yes.
So there was a time a man had bought a drink the previous day and had told me that he was going to buy 4 more drinks. And so I should come back the next day. And where he was quite far. So I walked all the way there only for him to change his mind.
Oh, no.
So as a young boy of about 12, 13 years, I was extremely disappointed. So when I got home, I was almost in tears. And I still remember what my mother told me about not taking things personally. It's been one of the most important things. It tells me that when somebody does something to you or says something to you that is annoying, probably you feel it's an insult, just assume that the person is having a bad day.
Yeah. Yes.
If you
Yes.
assume that the person is having a bad day, you will not take it personally.
Right.
And if you take it personally, you don't bend bridges, you don't harbor all the aggression and all of that,
Right.
and you're good to go.
Yes.
That has served me so well in all aspects. There are times when even my employees, one of them might actually throw a tantrum because of 1 or 2 things. I assume that this person might be having a bad day. In fact, to even make it hilarious, I'm like, probably this person just got their heart broken by their boyfriend or their girlfriend. So
Yes.
that's why they are behaving that way. And so I am able to forgive them for doing
Yes.
exactly that. And that
Yes.
has helped me a lot. And so when I face rejection, when I face issues that are probably things that would cause somebody else to just give up, I don't take it personally.
Yeah.
I always just make up my mind that it is because probably this or this, or is because probably I didn't do this enough. So it is my fault and not the other person's fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you ask me, you tell me you want to buy this particular kind of test kit. I come to you and then I assume that probably I didn't ask you the time you wanted me to come. So maybe I came a little too early or I came later than you wanted. I always find excuses for people who would reject me so that it is not personal.
Yes.
And once I am able to establish that it is not personal boundary, it helps me a lot. I'm able to go back to them and say, last time I know things didn't work out, but can we go back to the drawing table? Can we talk again and see what happens?
Yeah.
And most often than not, when you go back and they realize that you do not have any grudge, you are okay with what happens, business actually moves on. So I didn't associate it with that aspect, but now that you mention it, I realize that yes, it is that discussion that I had with my mom following the rejection from the man who wanted to buy 4 drinks and didn't get to buy, and all of that. That has been the principle that I have actually grown with and has basically taken hold of all my business dealings and everything that I've been up to.
And I think you just mentioned something that is so incredible, which I don't think I've realized is if you don't hold a grudge and you go back to the person, it's as if like, oh no, don't, it wasn't the right time before. Let's see if it's the
Exactly.
right time this time.
Exactly.
I like
And
that.
and most times they feel guilty for rejecting you the first time.
Yes.
So when you show them that, oh, it's fine, it is my fault. Probably it wasn't the right time. I didn't approach you the right time
Yeah.
or something like that. So can we talk about it right now? They tend to bend backwards to help you out. And so
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you even get better things than you would have gotten if the first deal had gone through. So that is one of the things that I realized. And so so I don't take rejection personally, not at all.
No, that's great. That's awesome. And I think it served you well because
Exactly.
I think this early time might have influenced your path so much, as you said, that it's something that it keeps working for you. And I hope everybody that's watching this interview listens to that and says, you know what, we're not going to take anything personally. It's just your life. You can take it personally, but that's up to you. It's like,
Exactly.
if somebody insults you, well, it's an insult if you understood, but if they insult you in a different language and you didn't understand, it's like it
Exactly.
didn't affect
Exactly.
you, right?
And if they insult you, just assume they are having a bad day. They had their hearts broken.
That's right. But so tell me, what was it that you became passionate about microbiology that, or, and even biomedical engineering? What was it? Was it just the fact that there were these issues, these problems that needed a better solution, and how expensive things were in Ghana to get the diagnostics, and you said, no, there's gotta be a better way. And so you decided to reinvent yourself as a microbiologist and learn how to detect these things and how it works. I mean, there must have been a little bit of molecular biology in your formation and
Exactly.
like
Exactly.
chemistry. Tell us a
Yes.
little bit about that.
So I when I tell people the story, they don't believe it. But I hated microbiology in my undergrad. It was I loved chemistry. I loved molecular biology. I really, really did love my molecular biology. I molecular biology at that time was very theoretical because we didn't have PCRs.
Mm.
Uh, and the few times that I even saw PCR was during my master's, and even that somebody had to run your samples for you. One of my cultural shock was coming to Purdue, and just in my season there in Professor Lennis' lab, behind me was a PCR, and undergrads would come and just be running the sample and all of that.
Yeah.
I didn't have that growing up, and so that is one of the things that shows the disparity. But microbiology, I didn't like microbiology because there were too many organisms that I needed to learn in my head. I couldn't relate to how all of these organisms, I mean, what were they doing to me? Some of them it was even difficult pronouncing their names. How was I supposed to put all of that into my head? You know,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and the way microbiology is taught, you don't just know the morphology, you need to know the immunology of the organism, how the organism causes disease and how your body reacts to the
Yes.
organism. You need to know how it is grown in the lab, the cultural morphology. There
Right.
were things that I did not like at all. And that is where mentorship is a very important thing. When I had graduated, yes, I had scraped through, I'd done very well with my academics, except microbiology. I didn't like microbiology, so I didn't do too well in microbiology. But I had graduated and I got to work with quite a number of people. But one of the people that really took me and made me enjoy microbiology was a professor in Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research. So I went to do an attachment there. And he had this favorite saying, "What did you learn today?" So when I went there, it was in the virology department, and I was assigned to the virology department. And so I had to do viruses. And every day he would ask me about a different virus and want me to talk about that virus and talk about the past, in the sense that what has been the effect of that virus over the years. And then I was supposed to predict the effect of that virus in the next few years. Is it going to be extinct? Is it going to cause pandemics and all of that? It started out as a game.
Yeah.
And so it became interesting for me. And to be able to beat him, in quotes, to be able to because anytime you answer, he has a question. And then whoever gets stuck loses, basically.
Yes.
To be able to do that, I started to consume viruses, everything about viruses I wanted to learn.
Yes.
Within a very short time, I realized that microbiology is not that bad. It's actually very, very, very interesting. It's very, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Especially if you add immunology to the whole infectious diseases thing, and then virology, parasitology. In Africa, we have a lot of parasites and bacteriology and all of that. So infectious diseases generally, it's microbiology.
Yeah.
And so adding immunology, which I liked, together with my newfound love in virology and all of that, I realized that, wow, I wanted to do this forever. And so I started to then learn about others, bacteriology, virology, parasitology, all of that. And so within a short time, I was writing papers. I was beginning to see things that that would baffle me, and I'll be like, oh, I need to research on these. And so that's how come I got my master's in microbiology. Immediately I finished, I got my PhD in microbiology, and after that I got to come to the Linus Lab and all of that. So it was that interest, and in getting that interest, together with my entrepreneurial spirit, and about the fact that I was working in a hospital where people had problems with diagnostics, finding problems in diagnostics and the ability to use microbiology to solve those problems didn't become too hard, because one, I knew the organisms intimately. Two, I also knew the problems intimately. And so solving them then became a passion for me. And so in trying to solve these, I ended up, one, getting quite a number of degrees. Secondly, getting a lot of knowledge that I'm able to apply from different things. Right now, I'm able to develop diagnostics and develop things within a very short time, because I'm able to apply microbiology with biomedical engineering.
Yeah.
If I was just a microbiologist, it would probably be a bit difficult. It would take some time, but I'll be able to do it. Biomedical engineer, yes, I'll be able to do it. It will also take some time. But having both knowledge in both areas, I am able to develop diagnostics within a very, very short time. And that is one of the things that has helped me over the years. And so, yes, microbiology was not a first love, but it is one of my favorite. It's something that I love, microbiology and immunology. I
That,
love them.
that's awesome. That is so awesome, because it tells me all that, even I remember certain things that I hated, I didn't like doing, and that now you're like, oh, it's so wonderful to be able to do that.
Exactly. Exactly.
I I think, I think I know a little bit about yaws, but I want you to tell us in your terms, what is yaws? What is the problem that is causing? How come it's a neglected disease? And what are you doing for yaws diagnostics?
Yes, thank you. So, yours is actually an infectious disease that is caused by a bacterium called Treponema pallidum petinui. So Treponema pallidum causes syphilis. So everybody knows this as the organism that causes syphilis. But it has a subspecies which causes skin diseases in children. And these are skin diseases that affect the poorest of the poor. and it's endemic in Africa, it's endemic in the Caribbean and some parts of Southeast Asia. And over the years, it used to be a huge problem affecting people in Europe and Americas and all of that. But UNICEF and the World Health Organization decided that they needed to get rid of it. And benzathine penicillin was what was used to eradicate yours. So they did mass drug administration, and then they reduced the prevalence by about 95%. But then once they had achieved so much success, they basically went to bed. And so there's been pockets of outbreaks all over, and Ghana is one of the endemic countries. But even in Ghana, there are so many people that do not know about this. And there are children who are developing deformities, who are not going to school because they have resource over their bodies and they don't want the stigma associated with it and all of that.
Sure.
So my PhD in microbiology was actually on yours. I was trying to do some sequencing work on yours. And so I decided that I went to very endemic communities. I stayed in these communities for 6 months, trying to first of all take samples of yours and all of that. And then that's why I found the first problem. There was no rapid kit for the detection of yours. So there are other diseases that mimic yours, like Haemophilus ducreyi is one of them, Borrelia ulcer, cutaneous leishmaniasis. All of them are things that mimic yours. So you won't be able to know that this is yours just by looking at it. You need to take the sample and do a test. Unfortunately, we had to send the test to the CDC in Atlanta for the test to be done. It was not done anywhere in Ghana. And so once you send it to CDC, it would usually take up to 2 months for the results to come in. The treatment for yours is a single dose of azithromycin, which was available and could treat the children. But because you don't want to encourage antibiotics resistance, you need to know that it is actually yours before you give these antibiotics.
Right.
And so the children had to wait for a month or two before they could be treated, which to me didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so when I came to Purdue for the Mandela Washington Fellows program, which is a different program by the U.S. State Department. So when I came and I met Professor Linus through Professor Arvind Raman, Dean of Engineering. When I met Professor Linus, one of the things I talked about was if only I could develop a molecular test that could detect yours on the field, then you basically cut the waiting time for treatment from 3 months to an hour.
Yeah.
And then you can basically test and treat people. And so that is why, even though I had a PhD, I had to come back to work on yours as my thesis for my MSBME, because I needed to find a device for that particular problem. And the World Health Organization had wants to eradicate yours by 2030. And so one of the ways to do that is to find diagnostics that are near the patients. And so that's what my stay in Purdue University did. And we were able to develop diagnostics, which we tested. It was, as I said, it was selected as one of the top 30 innovations in health. We've worked on it. We've worked on several things in yours. Right now, where my research interest is going is in biomarker discovery, especially in the skin entities. Because yes, now we are able to test and treat for yours, but there are other skin diseases that we do not know about, cutaneous leishmaniasis and all of that. How do you know? Do you have to take the sample, test for yours is negative? Then maybe what do you do about the other conditions that can be treated? And so in attempting to develop a multiplex sort of a test that can do that, I've been exploring using LAMP and CRISPR and all of that. But metabolomics is one of the areas that we haven't really thought about, but that can really help us in resource-limited countries to be able to develop faster diagnostics. Because, for instance, if I take somebody who has yours, I take the person, somebody who doesn't have yours at all. And I take somebody who had yours and has been treated. I take somebody who has current yours, and I do the metabolomics of all the three. I'll be able to find biomarkers that are upregulated in people with yours. So then I'm able to find targets that are easy to develop rapid tests that
Sure.
can be able to do. And so it is an area that I am currently exploring. Recently, I even found out that Purdue has a whole center that does that. So it's one of the areas I'm exploring. I'm trying to see if I can get funding, probably Fulbright, to come and do some metabolomics work in Purdue and all of that. So it's basically a whole area that keeps giving avenues for trying to help diseases of poverty, especially those that affect children and women disproportionately. And that is what my passion is about, and that's what I've been working on.
That's incredible. And your passion does come through when you're describing it, when you can see, my gosh, you're in it, into the thick of it, when you get
Yes.
now into even the metabolomic approach of trying to detect biomarkers and developing diagnostics out of that. There seems to be good runway
Yes.
for you to develop some of these things. I agree with you. Some of the diseases that do affect or afflict the poorest or of the poor are really some of the ones that we should really try to get some handle on quickly, because they are somewhat neglected. They are somewhat, not prominent, at least not prominently available. And as you said, we got to cut that distance. We got to cut the time at which the diagnosis is done so that we can eradicate at that point if we can.
Exactly.
No, that's so important. As you've gone through your trajectory, you've also been interacting with so many different people from around the world, and you've been, working with different scientists, and at the same time as you've been developing the science, you've been developing a business. And, I know you have a lot of learnings of the business, maybe from your early childhood experiences with your parents. But tell us, what is it like to develop the science and the business at the same time? Because I can't imagine that it's easy.
No, it's not. Sorry, no, it's not easy. But that is where the resilience that I talked about and the passion comes in. So I am a scientist. I love the science. I think when I describe how using science to help people, my passion comes out of it. But then if you design the science and you do the research and you do the publications, what about the person who is actually affected? The person you used for the research, what does that person benefit? Because 90% of the work that we do, we come out with prototypes that we can publish and make a name for, but they don't translate into something commercialized, that a commercial that would benefit the people that we need to do that.
Right.
So in my estimation, if we are not able to translate the research we do into something tangible that will benefit the people we are researching about, then we are not doing the world that great. Yes, we are adding knowledge, but we are not really doing that great in helping the world move forward.
Yeah.
And so that has been one of the passions. My research interest has always been in something that would end up with something translational. I'll give you an example. Over the past 4 years, I've been doing STI research into sexually transmitted infections.
Yes.
So I started by looking at the prevalence across the country, especially in young people 15 to 24. So I looked at high school, found out that high school students had lots of STIs because their sexual risk behavior was higher. So the next one, I wanted to look at the strains of the STIs that were there. So I looked at chlamydia, I did some genomics work, looked at the different strains that were in STIs. But I have the end goal, and the end goal is to develop a diagnostic that can be used in the high school to be able to detect that I have an STI and get treated. But before I can just go ahead and do the STI, get to know all of that. I need to know how much of a problem it is. And that is by doing the prevalence and finding out all of that. Which of the organisms is a problem.
Right.
And so by doing the molecular and then the genomic work, I'm able to find the strains and all of that. Next, I'm thinking about probably metabolomics, finding biomarkers that can help me find something that is easy to develop the test. Then the next step, developing a rapid test. That my company can then commercialize very affordable rates that can be sent to these high schools, so that as somebody who wakes up and feels a little bit of an itch somewhere or a discharge somewhere can just test and know whether the person has an STI, quickly go to their clinic and get tested, so that it doesn't end with infertility and stillbirth and all the things that are associated with sexually transmitted infections. So that passion in trying to make sure that we have something out of the research is what drives every single kind of research that I do. And so I always have the end goal of finding something translational, but I'll start with the basic and all of that and build upon that until I come out with something that is translational that I can use.
It's fabulous. And are you like looking for opportunities also to maybe increase on the business side of things, so that kind of takes shape while you continue to focus on these scientific opportunities that could then drive more of the business?
Of course. The business has been really good. I have a support system, and that's one of the things. A lot of people ask me how I'm able to combine academia, which in itself is very tiring and very stressful, with business, which is a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
And I always tell people that it is because I have a very good support system. I have been able to train and nurture employees to be able to function without me being physically present.
Mm.
And so the company is able to go about 3-4 months without me being physically present.
Nice.
We've also digitalized almost everything, such that I can keep tabs on the business 24 hours a day, because I am able to see a dashboard that tells me how many things you are manufacturing, how much is being bought, and all of those things.
That's awesome.
And so by doing that, I am able to free space to be able to pursue the academic side, which at the end of the day benefits the business as well.
Sure.
And so I am still looking for a lot of opportunities that would better the business side. I'm also looking for opportunities that would help the academic side, because that is what feeds into the business side. Because without developing new things that the company can commercialize, we will not be an innovative company such that everybody is talking about us. Right now, there was a paper that was published recently about frugal diagnostics, and we were the case study, because we do not have a lot of money, and yet we are using frugal diagnostics to develop real tests that impact a lot of people.
Sure.
So we do not have grants that are run in a million. Sometimes you have just $20,000, and we're able to do something with it and be able to come out with a product that is very viable. While some people would have $2 million and will just have a prototype. And so Frugal Diagnostics, they made there was a paper that came out talking about how we are able to do all of these things. And it is because of the academic side of Incas Diagnostics, or academic side of learning to develop the test, doing all the research and everything, and then feeding the company with a prototype that the company can commercialize and still remain viable and innovative. So that is so we're looking for opportunities in both areas. Yes.
Fantastic. My goodness. Laud Anthony, tell me, is there any question that I haven't asked you that you wish I would have asked you?
Well, I can't think of any, but one of the things I would say is that Purdue really set me up for greatness, and anybody that cares to listen, I always talk about it. That is because, to be very honest, coming from Africa and being in Purdue was a bit boring for me, because of, not a lot of activities going on and all of that. But I also met very wonderful people who were so friendly. They were willing to offer help, offer knowledge, offer networking, offer opportunities for me that I still enjoy. Professor Lennis is one of the greatest people I have met because of her willingness to basically embrace a lot of people from diverse background and be able to use that to do something great. And Purdue has been wonderful. So I owe Purdue a lot, and I'm looking forward to coming back, probably to come and do some metabolomics work, and let's see how that goes.
Oh, that would be awesome. You'd be working with Bruce Cooper, who's also one of our pathfinders here.
Okay.
And look up also Christina Ferreira, who does the lipidomics. And
yes, I read about
sure,
that. I read about that. Yes, I was going to shoot them an email, so I think it would be nice to just do the introduction and I'll shoot them an email and then we can take it from there.
For sure.
Yes.
Well, but it's been such a pleasure hearing your story. It's been so inspirational, really, and to see you with so much ambition and energy and positive attitude, no matter what the challenges are, no matter what they're going to be. It's as you said, the problems are there to be solved, and every problem has a potential solution. So we just need to think and go find it. Thank you so much for being our Pathfinder today. Laud Anthony Basing, who is a scientist, engineer, innovator, entrepreneur. He is the founder of Incas Diagnostics, founder and CEO. Thank you for being on our program today, and I hope you have a great day.
You too. Thank you for having me. All right.
Okay. Bye-bye. All the best. Thank you for joining us once again, and remember to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel.